Hey guys, it's Mr. Hussey, 8th grade math. Sorry, this is like the third video I've tried here. The first one didn't record. Second one doesn't sound like it had volume, so I'm going to keep this one short. Your lesson for today is to do numbers 1, both sides, 2, both sides, 4, both sides, and then on the back, 7 and 8, both sides. Okay, so that's your lesson. Now, it is all review. So there's a possibility that you could be able to do a lot of this on your own. However, there's a few things I want to note because they're a little tricky here. So basically, first let me just note the method. Okay, the method is on the first column. So on the left-hand side, you're taking all your x values one at a time and you're plugging them in here. Okay, so for instance here, I did it here on a separate sheet of paper. You can pause this and take a look if you want. But basically, I took the -3. I plugged it in here. Okay, 1/3 of -3 is -1, and then -1 minus 2 produces a -3. So the first method is, and then like we take our 6, right? We plug it in here. So 1/3 of 6 is 2, and then 2 minus 2 is 0. So that should be a 0. So that's where I'm getting this from. Okay, so you plug them all in, you get 4 what you call ordered pairs, okay? And then you plot those ordered pairs correctly, and there's your line, okay? On the second side, they want you to look at a different way. This is called the slope-intercept form, okay? So in this case, they're looking at this equation that we learned about y equals mx plus b, okay? And what we're doing in this one is they give us like the number before the x, that's going to be the m, or the slope. So we have to remember that slope is our rise over our run. So in this case, it'd be a rise of 1 over a run of 3. Okay, so that slope, hold on to that for a second. And first we have to find out where the line crosses the y-axis or the y-intercept. So this place gives me my first point, this part of the equation. So the -2 is going to tell me that my first point would start 2 units below the origin. That's my first point. Okay, and then from there, you use this slope, this 1/3 rise over run. So you run 3, rise 1, run 3, rise 1, and that produces your line. Okay, so on the left-hand side, you're doing it through putting these in one at a time to the x and popping out 4 different y values, and then just plotting these points. That's one way. That's called the function table way. There's another way called the slope-intercept form, and this way you're noting this -2 right here is where the line has to cross the y-axis. So you're putting your first point at 0, -2, and then you're using this slope, the rise over the run, to dictate how the rest of your line is drawn. All right, so you guys can pause this and look at, if you'd like to look at number 1, you can. Okay, I'm going to let you do 2 and 4 and 8 on your own, but let's take a look at 7, all right, because 7's a little tricky. 7 is just what happens here once it stops being blurry here. Hopefully it'll just take a second to adjust. There we go. All right, so for number 7, they put this part with the x, they put it at the back. And that could be confusing because our number by itself is up here, and then the part with the x is in the back. So we need to know that this equation, let's look at this side. Y equals mx plus b. Okay, so that's the slope-intercept formula that we've been going over for a couple days here. Y equals mx plus b. So the thing in front of the x, or the -1/2, we have to take that negative with it. That's the slope. So let's just take this and put it in the front where the mx is, and then the plus b is going to be that 7, so plus 7. Okay, so in this case, when it's written like this, we need to rearrange it and take the -1/2 x, put that in the front, so we know that that's the slope. Okay, and then we can go from there. All right, same thing on this side. You're just taking these numbers, put them in for x, chucking out 4 different answers, right? It will produce 4 different answers. Like if I take, say I take the -8. All right, well, what's 1/2 of -8? That's -4, right? So you have 7 minus a -4, or 7 plus 4. So that's going to be an 11, okay? And then you'll plot these points. This way over here, once again, you can pause this and take a look at my answers. But this way over here, you're going to know that there has to be a +7, so it has to cross the line at 0, 7. Because this part here, the 7, is now getting put in the back, and this part here is getting put in the front, so it hits the form. The reason we're doing that is so it hits the form y equals mx plus b. So it's in that form. So it's y equals something x. So in this case, it's the -1/2 x plus the 7. So our first point here is the +7. So that will be here. And then this rise over our run is going to dictate what happens with the rest of the line. So every time we run 2, we drop 1. We run 2, we drop 1. Now, if you want to get really crazy here, you say, Mr. Essay, how do you know that negative goes up? Okay, well, what if you want to put the negative down? Okay, then it would be rise every time you rise 1, then you run -2. So it's still going to be the same thing. Okay, I don't like to run negative though. I always like to run in the positive direction so I don't get confused. And you'll see how these two graphs, they're the same. Just doing it 2 different ways, you get the exact same line. Okay, same with up here. You get the exact same line doing it 2 different ways. So that's today's lesson in a nutshell. If you have any questions, my office hours are always 8 to 9 a.m. and 1 to 2 p.m. I pay extra attention to my email. I can also Google Chat or anything like that. Most of the time during the course of the day, I'm always checking my email anyway on a school day. All right. So God bless you guys. Hope that helps. Take care.